I'm going to explain two concepts that will massively help ultimate frisbee athletes struggling to schedule and prioritize training, especially during a busy season. These concepts are minimal effective dose and maintenance. Now, if you don't know me, I'm Brian Nevison. I am the owner of Ultimate Mobility. I've been a trainer and coach for over 15 years, and I've been playing Ultimate for 20 years at the high school, college level, club nationals, masters nationals. And I know that Ultimate athletes often struggle to balance a season and training schedule without over or underdoing it. Yes, I do have some notes that I'm going to reference here so I can be more concise. So let's dive into minimal effective dose first. Minimal effective dose is the amount of something we need to do to see an effect or to make an impact on the quality or skill we're training in this case. And this dose is going to change depending on what we're working on and on our training experience with that particular quality. So if you're thinking about how to fit everything in, consider how much of everything you need to do to make progress. Hint, for a lot of things, it's way less than we think if we are doing it consistently, which is often the problem. So what often happens is people will way overdo something, do way more than they need to for a short period of time, then they might burn out or they might get super sore or injured, or they just can't keep up with that schedule, and then they'll stop doing it. And then next time they might think, well, I need to do more than I did before because I didn't see progress. But oftentimes it's the consistency, not the volume. So let me give you a sprint example. If you go out and you do 20 max effort sprints on Monday, and then you do it again on Tuesday, and then you do it again on Wednesday, you're not going to be able to keep that up for very long. And obviously, we don't need to do that much to see improvement with our speed. But what is the minimal amount that you can do and still see improvements? If you're an Olympic level sprinter, that minimal amount is probably a little bit higher. But if you're just an average player, you probably can do sprints once or twice a week at a low volume and still make sprint improvements, if you're able to be consistent for a relatively long period of time. And this is what's key. Minimal effective dose can be relatively low if we can be consistent for a while. To hone in on your minimal effective dose for a particular skill or quality, I recommend experimenting a little bit and seeing what works using some logic, right? So 100 sprints, we don't need to do that many. One sprint every 2 weeks, probably not going to do much. So you can start somewhere in between there. And I recommend undershooting rather than overshooting, because undershooting, the worst that's going to happen is maybe you maintain and you get some practice in. But if you've dealt with overuse pains and injuries, overshooting is definitely not something we want to do. We want to err on the side of being conservative with this stuff. So experiment, start small, be consistent, and see what works for you. Now let's switch gears a little bit, talk about maintenance. What does it take to maintain a quality or skill? Say we're talking range of motion, strength, power, etc. The minimal effective dose for maintenance is way, way lower than it is for trying to make progress. So if I'm trying to improve my strength, it might take months of consistent hard effort several times a week to significantly improve my strength or muscle mass. My maintenance for that is much, much lower. You could get away with probably one full body lift per week. So minimal effective dose to maintain a skill or quality is far lower. That's really important because it's hard to prioritize a lot of things at once. So what we ideally want to do is, instead of trying to build up everything, strength, aerobic ability, mobility, jumping, etc., we want to put a few of these things in maintenance mode, okay, turn the burner on low a little bit, and then one or two things we turn it up, and those are the things we work to improve. So this way, instead of trying to use our limited resources to bump all of these things up, we're just focusing on one or two. We're much more likely to actually make progress there because we can put more resources into one or two qualities, and we can maintain the other stuff, rather than what oftentimes happens is people are doing too much and then they stop and just do nothing, or they can't handle the load and they get pain and injuries and aren't recovering well. So when we understand that maintenance doesn't actually take that much, it kind of gives us permission to back off a little bit on a few things, trusting that we're not going to lose our gains, and then we focus on one or two things, and we can be really consistent with those much more than we could otherwise. Now, with all this stuff in mind, here's the real cheat code. In my experience, over many years working with athletes and with myself, prioritizing mobility training, so the strength and resilience and health of our connective tissue, our joints, our tendons, can help improve or at least raise the ceiling of a bunch of other of these skills and qualities. So my speed, my power, my aerobic fitness can be impacted by the health and the resilience of my connective tissue. And I'll give you a quick example regarding speed and jumping. So I dealt with a lot of shoulder injuries in the past. I had shoulder surgery on my left shoulder, which was my throwing shoulder. So going through rehab and everything, fine. I kind of got some movement back, but it was still painful. It wasn't smooth. I didn't have as much range of motion as I liked. So I really prioritized shoulder mobility, intense, focused mobility work. And what this did is it allowed me to extend my shoulder more, do it more comfortably, which led to improvements in my jumping ability and my speed because I could move much more efficiently and powerfully. So it indirectly improved multiple other skills because I focused on that. So regular focused mobility work can keep you healthier, it can keep you feeling better and more confident, and basically gives you the tools to do the other stuff more effectively and more efficiently. So better mobility means you're actually conserving energy over the long term and improving your ability to recover, which is huge. So what I recommend is that basically year long, you are working on one of your priorities being mobility training. So you're bumping this up, turning this burner way up, because it is going to help increase the ceiling of the other qualities, and it's going to increase your overall health and capacity to do other things. So you might actually now have a little bit more power to put into some of these other priorities. Okay. So I hope this is making sense for you, and I want to give you a practical example before we leave here today. So in a lot of my Ultimate Mobility programs, what I have is a body maintenance workout, a mobility master workout, full body strength, power, speed acceleration, and conditioning. Okay? Nothing too groundbreaking, but these things here. So body maintenance, this is something we do on at least a weekly basis to make sure that our mobility and our joint health is at the very least maintaining. We're keeping that steady throughout the season. Mobility Master, this is where we make gains. So the focus of this session is to improve our range of motion, our control within big ranges, our joint and tendon health. This is what's going to help with all of these other qualities to make sure we have what we need to safely and effectively and efficiently work on these. Okay, so year round we're doing body maintenance and we're working on building this Mobility Master up. Throughout this season, we're going to do a full body strength workout once per week. So that way, through the season, when we're doing a lot of other volume of training and playing, this is a maintenance thing, okay? We're maintaining. We don't need to build up our strength. We're working to maintain it. We have the resources to do that, okay? Once a week. Power, this sometimes is a priority during the season. It depends on the person. But oftentimes power, we're going to progressively train that a little bit more. Doesn't require the same volume as some of the other stuff do to improve it. We might do one power thing a week. The other nice thing is we build in some power stuff into our warm-ups for the speed, the conditioning, and for practices and tournaments. So we're getting enough of this to at the very least maintain, and we can add in a day a week to work on it. Speed and acceleration, this is another thing that is similar to power, and we might do this once a week in a focused time with a little bit more volume, but it depends on the time of the season. And same with conditioning, because if you are playing a league and then practicing once or twice a week and then playing a tournament every other weekend, your conditioning should not be a priority. Unless it's a major, major weakness for you, you probably don't need to spend extra time on it during the season. This is something you want to hammer in the off season. So what I recommend during the season, body maintenance, hit that Mobility Master, really hammer the mobility work. You're going to recover well from this and it's going to give you more from the other stuff. Maintain the strength, add in some power and some speed as needed, as long as you can recover from it and you're not super sore. And then conditioning should not be a priority during the season unless it is a major, major weakness for you specifically. So I hope this helped, gave you some good stuff to think about. Real quick, minimal effective dose. Think through and experiment with what works for you and your priorities and your goals. Remember, undershooting is better than overshooting. Maintenance takes way less than building up skills. So we want to think about what skills at what times a year do we want to just maintain and which ones do we want to work on. We only really want to prioritize one or two at a time. And then finally, mobility. This should be a priority year-round because it's going to give us more capacity, a higher ceiling in everything else. This is the foundation. So when you hammer the mobility, you get really good at that. It's going to make everything else better for you, and that's why I do it with all my athletes. Have a great day. Thanks for being here.